third petitioner's submissions. Honorable Maina supplemented her positions by filing written submissions dated 9th of January 2026, and which she further orally highlighted in court. She identified the following issues for determination. 1, whether the public participation exercise conducted by the National Assembly on the 4th of October 2024 met the constitutional threshold under Article 118 of the Constitution. B, whether the yes-no templates deployed by the National Assembly violated constitutional requirements for meaningful public participation. 3, whether the Senate violated Article 118 by not conducting public participation at the Senate stage. 4, whether the Senate violated Article 145(3)(b) by failing to appoint a special committee of 11 members. 5, whether Standing Order 64(2) prescribing a 12-day impeachment timeline is constitutional. 6, whether the impeachment process violated Article 50 on fair hearing protections. And 7, whether the impeachment proceedings were conducted by impartial officers as required by Article 50, sub-Article 1 of the Constitution. Honorable Maina submitted that on the 3rd of October 2024. Honorable Justice Mongo, a judge of the High Court sitting at Kariguya, ordered inter alia that public participation be undertaken at the constituency levels so as to accord the public an opportunity to engage and offer their representations. That these orders were duly served and were never appealed, stayed, varied or reviewed, and as such, they remain binding on the respondents, absolutely. Speaking to the obligation.
The petitioners then sought the following prayers. A declaration that the impeachment process of a deputy president is a sui generis in nature, and that public participation forms a fundamental background that plays a significant role in attaining the right to a fair trial enshrined under Article 50 of the Constitution. B, a declaration that public participation is the only avenue or means through which the people can exercise their sovereignty contemplated under Article 1 of the Constitution in determining whether an office created under the Constitution ought to be abolished or whether accountability mechanisms created under this Constitution ought to be put in motion or otherwise, and that the lack of elaborate procedure or certainty as to when the same should commence or conducted will ordinarily amount to usurpation of the people's power and subsequently amount to a violation of the Constitution. C, a declaration that the Article 118 sub-Article 2 that clearly provides for mandatory public participation and Article 124 creating the requisite parliamentary standing orders, neither the National Assembly nor the Senate had enacted an Act of Parliament providing for the procedure on how the impeachment of either the President or Deputy President is to be undertaken, nor has the National Assembly Standing Order 64 or 65 or the Senate Standing Order number 74 provided for the procedure governing the crucial element of public participation relating to the impeachment of a deputy president. D, a declaration that the National Assembly Standing Order 64 and 65 or the Senate Standing Order number 74 are unconstitutional as they were never subjected to the mandatory public participation during their enactment. E, petition challenged the constitutionality and legality of the impeachment proceedings commenced against H.E. Gachagua by the National Assembly and Senate. He contended that the impeachment process was politically motivated, defective, unconstitutional, and undertaken in violation of the sovereign will of the people expressed during the 2022 general election. His case centered on the alleged violations of Article 1, 10, 38, 47, 48, 50, 73, 75, 94, 118, 145, and 150 of the Constitution, that the impeachment motion tabled by the Honorable Motuse had not been preceded by adequate public participation, and that the MPs who appended their signatures in support of the motion failed to consult their constituents before supporting the impeachment process. He further alleged that the process of collecting signatures in support of the impeachment motion was tainted by bribery, undue influence, intimidation, and forgery of signatures belonging to some MPs. He contended that the subsequent public participation exercise conducted on 4th and 5th October 2024 was merely cosmetic and incapable of constituting meaningful public participation because it was hurried, poorly coordinated, inadequately publicized, and conducted through only one center per county and constituency. He also complained that the public participation forms contained only the allegations against H.E. Gachagua and omitted his responses, thereby condemning him unheard and violating the principles of fairness and natural justice. He also alleged bias and conflict of interest on the part of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. He contended that both office holders publicly supported the impeachment process before the motion was tabled and debated in Parliament, thereby compromising their constitutional obligation to act as neutral and impartial arbiters during the proceedings. He asserted that the impeachment motion was politically motivated and arose from internal disputes within the UDA party, yet the parties involved had failed to exhaust internal party dispute resolution mechanisms under the party constitution before initiating impeachment proceedings. He also